Perfect. You got me loud and clear?
Yeah, I can hear you
Awesome.
perfectly.
Great. Well, thanks for having me. Definitely appreciate it. So today we're going to go over basically SEO 101, common pitfalls that I see many people run into when they're starting a website or even if they've had a website for some time. And then we're also going to touch on some quick wins that, again, if you're just starting out, these are going to be, a handful of things that we're going to want to address, pretty quickly in the process here. So I'm going to share my screen here, and we'll get right into this. And you guys got me?
Yep, can see it
Awesome.
great.
Perfect. So I work for a company called Hive Digital. We're a mission-driven digital marketing agency. So we work with for good companies and individuals. Basically, we want to bring on clients that are trying to have a positive impact on the world. So we work with a lot of nonprofits. We've worked with the Human Rights Foundation and Kauffman Organization, and even our clients that are B2B and B2C, we try to guide them in a for good direction, if that makes sense. We've been around for 17 years, which is forever for a digital marketing agency. And we do everything from, technical SEO to paid search, analytics, link development, link removals. We have a couple SaaS products. Just last year, we were shortlisted for Best Small SEO Agency. This is my beautiful family. I have 3 children. Yes, we are Patriots fans. I hope that means that people aren't going to leave the webinar. Stay with us. Stay with us. But yeah, 3 kids. I live about an hour west of Boston. I've been the director of business development over at Hive Digital for 7 years now. So again, enough about me. Let's jump into this here. Today's agenda, we're going to look at common SEO mistakes. We're going to go over quick wins for SEO. Then I'm going to provide you with a list of resources for you to check out, and I highly recommend you do. There'll be lots of good information that you can glean from those. And then if we have time, happy to answer a few questions. So search engine optimization, we'll start at the very beginning. What is search engine optimization? It's the practice of increasing quantity and quality of traffic to your website through organic means. And taking a step back, how do these search engines work? Google organizes information about web pages, in their index. And according to Google, this index is basically like an enormous library. And when you're searching for something, Google's algorithm is filtering through billions and billions of pages of data to try and deliver to you what it thinks is the most relevant results to answer your query, which you were searching for. So how does Google organize all of this information? Well, search engines like Google crawl the web, moving from link to link, finding and indexing new pages, and they do this at an incredible speed. Some estimate that over 300 new websites are created every minute. So if you think about that, that's an incredible amount of information that Google has to parse and then serve to the user, depending on what the query is. So how does Google know, or how does Google determine what should rank? So there are over 250 different ranking signals that Google looks at when trying to determine where a website should rank and what a website should rank for. Google looks at, metadata. They look at how fast your page loads. They look at whether your site is set up to be mobile friendly. They look at the other websites that are linking over to your website. They'll check to see if your site is secure, if it's HTTPS. They'll look at the content. Like I said, there's over 250 different signals. I'm not going to rattle off all of them, but that gives you an idea. So with all that being said, there's essentially 2 facets to SEO. There's on-site SEO and off-site SEO. On-site SEO, when we're talking on-site SEO, we're talking about things that we can change on the website. So these are things that you can manually go into the back end of your website, and write up a new page title or, write up new heading tags. Those are things you can control, and that's what we consider on-site SEO. Off-site SEO When we say offsite SEO, we're talking backlink strategy. We're talking about other websites linking over to your website, because every link in Google's eyes is essentially a vote for your website. So on-site SEO, really easy to manipulate since you have access to your site and can make changes. Off-site SEO can be a little tricky, but we're going to touch on one or two different strategies that might get you going as far as acquiring some backlinks pointing to your site. Real quick, statistical breakdown of search engine usage. As you can see, Google is an absolute monster with 92% of the people out there using Google. Bing's right behind, and then you can see some of these other smaller search engines. So for this conversation, I'm pretty much going to be talking about wins for Google. So common SEO mistakes. Unsecured website, so a website that loads HTTP versus HTTPS. Missing metadata, so not having page titles, heading tags, image alt text, meta descriptions. Looking at duplicate content and canonical tags. Looking at backlinks that are pointing to your website, the speed of your site, and whether your site is mobile friendly. So again, HTTP versus HTTPS. I'm not going to PowerPoint you to death here, but I am going to read this first sentence here. This is from Google. We're starting to use HTTPS as a ranking signal. For now, it's a very lightweight signal, which affects less than 1% of global queries. They started this back in 2014. And basically, if your site's secure, you're going to get a slight rankings boost from Google over sites that aren't secure. And the reason being is that Google, they want users to have the best possible experience when they're navigating the web, when they're on your website. They also want users to be able to complete transactions safely. When reviewing a website, like when I do a pre-audit, one of the first things I look at is this a website that I would trust, giving my credit card information to? And if the purpose of our website is to raise money and get donations, then this needs to be a serious consideration. So, if you have a site that isn't set up for HTTPS, but you accept donations and you're trying to raise money, this would be something that I would definitely want to take care of first and foremost. Many platforms like WordPress or Wix, they automatically provide you with that security, that SSL certificate. Other services like GoDaddy, they will provide it, but I believe it comes at an extra cost. So regardless of whatever platform you're on, if you check out your website today and see that it's not HTTPS, I would take steps to rectify that. The other piece too, since we are talking raising money, is trust factors. So you got your website secure, that's awesome. We also want to maybe add some of these badges if they're applicable to what we're doing. These are just more trust signals for somebody before they're going to donate money or hand over money to your website. So they authorize Net1 or McAfee Secure. These are great trust badges here that you can add to your website. So something else to kind of consider there as far as giving people a warm and fuzzy before they hand over their credit card information to you. Next thing that I see a lot is websites and pages that are missing metadata. So we're talking heading tags, page titles, meta descriptions, and these are important because if we take a step back and ask the question of how does Google know what your website is about? They read this metadata basically. They read the metadata. They read all of the keywords to try and determine what your site is about, what your site should rank for. And Google, they crawl every website and process all of the HTML code on the back end. And basically, there's a bunch of this too, so I'm not going to go too in depth, but the ones that are easy to fix and I would recommend doing, as a first priority is your heading tags. So there's H1, H2, H3, all the way up to H6. Your H1 tag is probably your most important, followed by H2. They look at image alt text, which is basically a little snippet of code that sits behind images on your website that tells Google what that image is about. Meta descriptions, this is that first little blurb of text somebody reads before they decide to click on through to your website. So these aren't a ranking factor. Google doesn't look at meta descriptions to determine where or what you should rank for. However, from a marketing standpoint, if you have a well-written meta description, with a clear call to action that also matches the content on the page, the corresponding page, that's great. Because if you don't, people are going to bounce out. So your meta descriptions should be, clear, concise, call to action, and then it should match the content on page once they click through. Meta keywords, these used to be a ranking factor back in the day. They are not a ranking factor anymore. You can actually get penalized if you have meta keywords and they don't match the content on page. Bing will actually penalize the site for that. Google won't, but Bing will. So the general recommendation there is if you start poking around and you see that your site has meta keywords, I would just remove those. So all that's good and fine, but how do we find that information? Where can we see all of these heading tags, page titles, alt text, things like that? So here's a tool that I like to use. It's called Screaming Frog. Excuse me one second. Dry throat. Screaming Frog, it is free. You can download it. There's a link at the end of this deck where you can go to their website and download it. And basically you can crawl up to 500 URLs for free. And basically this will let you view your website the way that Google views your website. So as you can see right there, you can see, page titles, response codes, meta descriptions, H1 tags, H2 tags. And then from there, you can export all this data into Excel. And then you can really start to kind of dig through and see, what's missing. Look at ways that you can, optimize things that are missing, or, maybe things are too long, cut out keywords. And it's just a great tool. And like I said, it's free, and we love free. Duplicate content. So this is another killer, and this is something that I see often. Basically, duplicate content is content that appears on the internet in more than one place. It can be two very similar pages that sit on your website. It could be, two similar pages that exist on your website and somebody else's website. Maybe they scraped your site and they've got the same information. But basically, what a canonical tag does is it tells Google that regardless of other similar or like or exact content on the web, this is the canonicalized version. This is the version that counts and that we want you to pay attention to. So if we don't have a canonical tag in place, and on every page on our website, there could end up being multiple versions of those pages in Google's index, which is not good. So basically, we just want to make it as easy as possible for Google to know what our website is about. So we've got the meta descriptions and page titles and H1 tags squared away. Now we're looking at duplicate content and canonical tags. We want to make sure that every page has a self-referencing canonical tag. And this tells Google, basically, this is the page that counts. It tells Google where to direct any, link juice. If other people are linking to your website, Google will know where to send that, that link equity. And again, if there are multiple pages that exist that are the same or close to the same in Google's index, that's bloating their index, and that's not, that is not a good thing. So self-referencing canonical tags, and you can see down there at the bottom, that's kind of what it looks like. So it's not something, too crazy to implement. But again, that's kind of what it would look like. So offsite review. So when I'm talking offsite review, I'm talking about people that link to your website, talking about people who provide backlinks over to your website. And again, like despite continuing statements from Google, everybody in the SEO community still knows that getting backlinks and having good backlinks is a significant ranking factor if you want to move the needle for your company. But I'll back up here and kind of go over a history of this. Prior to 2012, search engines were fairly easy to manipulate. These were the good old days of SEO. backlinks played, a huge part in Google's algorithm. And basically, Google would count every single backlink pointing to a site. They would count all of those links as votes that pointed to a site. And all those votes would essentially, make that website rank very well. SEOs knew this. We took advantage of this. And basically, you could have someone spin up a brand new website, throw in, 10,000 backlinks that all pointed to, the actual site they wanted to rank, and Google would count all of those and then rank that other website. That all changed on April 24th, 2012. Google released what is known as their first Penguin algorithm. It's a filter that basically sat on top of Google's regular algorithm, and it was trying to basically flag and catch any type of spam / manipulative linking. This algorithm was refreshed, updated, and released several times throughout the last few years. And basically, when they first released this, thousands and thousands of websites got in trouble for having these shady, less than reputable backlinks. So long story short, to get out of a penalty with Google for something like this, you would have to reach out to all the people that were linking to you, ask them to remove the link, and then submit a reconsideration request to Google, which is basically like an apology letter, asking to have your website either re-indexed or have the penalty lifted. Google's algorithm has now gotten so sophisticated that we don't see many of those manual actions like we used to. I did, however, see one just last month that my agency's working through right now, and we're close to getting them out of penalty, but it could be a real business killer. They could basically make it so you don't show up past the 5th page for any of your keywords, regardless of what you do, until you get the penalty lifted. In really egregious cases, they can just take your site out of their index as well. So having bad backlinks is something that can definitely hurt you. So let me see here. One thing you can do to deal with backlinks is, number one, you have to find them. So in Google Search Console, which we'll touch on in a minute, you can pull a list of all of the links pointing to your site. There's also third-party tools like Ahrefs or Majestic or SEMrush, and you can pull your backlink data from those sites and then basically do a manual review and look through to see if you have any shady backlinks. And if you do, then there's something called the disavow file that gets submitted in Google Search Console, where you upload at the domain level the backlinks that you don't want credit for, and submit that in Google Search Console. So it's basically your way of telling Google, I know I have these bad backlinks, but I don't want credit for them. And that's kind of the purpose of the disavow file. So we have some clients that we do this for once a quarter, once a year, depending on the size of the backlink profile. So again, just something to think about and be cognizant of if you've got a lot of backlinks. Page speed. Page speed's been a ranking factor for desktop since 2012, but beginning late last year, they started using it for a ranking factor for mobile. And why that's significant is, Google also recently searched their index to mobile first, meaning that they look at the mobile version of your site prior to looking at the desktop version of your site. So having a very fast, website for mobile is super important. Basically, Google only has so many machines to crawl the entire web. Again, like roughly 1.6 billion. So you want to make sure that your page loads as fast as possible so Google can get out or get in, crawl everything they need to crawl on your site, and get out. Some things you can do to improve page speed. If you've got a lot of images, if you're a heavy image site or image heavy site, you can find a website to compress images. I believe I linked to it on the last slide of this deck. So compressing images is something you can do to speed up your website. Minifying code and JavaScript, that's another option. You can do a review of the redirects on your site, again, using a tool like Screaming Frog. Maybe you've got unnecessary redirects that you can get rid of, or using a CDN. You know, those four things could definitely help speed up a site that's slow. So, and page speed too, you know, it is a ranking factor and all that, but also from a user perspective, you know, if we're trying to get someone to, you know, donate to our page, you know, if it's loading slowly, they might leave, and we don't want people leave when they are ready to hand over a credit card number. So, you know, having a fast site is good for Google, but it's also good for the user experience. And then mobile friendly. I think this is the last thing we're going to touch on as far as pitfalls I see. So yeah, basically 2015, Google rolled out their mobile friendly algorithm. And as you can see here on the left, that's a non-mobile friendly site. You know, the text is small, the links are small. It's very hard to navigate. The search bars, you know, virtually impossible to find there. But you know, on the right, you've got your mobile friendly site. So you know, everything's clear, easy to read, easy to process. You know, it's very important. You know, in 2018, 58% of all traffic in the US came from mobile devices. So again, if we have that many people checking out our websites on mobile, we best have a, you know, a mobile friendly site that's easy to navigate. The other thing I tell people too, if you have a mobile friendly site and there's a phone number on there, you know, you should make sure that that is in fact clickable. Again, we want to cut down as much friction as possible from getting somebody to, you know, reach out to you, donate money to you. So make that phone number clickable if it's not. Quick wins for SEO. I know I'm kind of up against it here, so I'm going to kind of fly. Google Search Console, or here we go. Set up Google Search Console, Google My Business, metadata, backlinks, improve existing content. So Google Search Console, previously known as Google Webmaster Tools. It's a free service provided by Google, which basically gives you an idea of things Google has noticed that are wrong with your site. So basically, insights on how Google views your site. You can upload your sitemap here. So Google can find and index the entirety of your website. Like I mentioned before, you can see other websites that have linked to your site. You can submit that disavow file we were just talking about. You can see which keywords people are searching for to find your site. You know, if there are any crawling issues, you'll receive a notification so long as Search Console is set up. One thing I'll mention is when you set up Google Search Console, you'll want to set it up for all four variations of your property, meaning HTTPS www, HTTPS sans www, HTTP www, and then HTTP without the www. That will make sure that you're grabbing data no matter how somebody navigates to your website. So it's a great resource, and it's free. Google My Business, again, another free offering from Google, launched in 2014. And basically, as you can see right here, this map section on the right-hand side, you know, that's our Google business listing. So you can have your hours, you can have people can leave reviews, your a phone number to reach out to you, you can upload images. This is a great local ranking factor as well. So free, definitely worth setting up. A study conducted by the local search associations showed that only 44% of businesses had claimed their Google My Business account, and only 18% claimed their listing on Bing. So if you haven't claimed your Google My Business account yet, definitely do so. Metadata. We'll touch on this real quick because we kind of touched on it before, but as far as best practices for writing that metadata, you know, you do the screaming frog crawl, you find out what's missing, and then from there, you want to just make sure that when you're writing your heading tags, you know, they should be 20 to 70 characters. That's best practices. Your page title should be 50 to 60 characters. Meta descriptions, again, not a ranking factor, but they should be 160 characters. Image alt text, meta keyword, structured data. You want to make sure that just everything is unique. As many keyword opportunities that you can feed to Google for what you're trying to rank for, the better. Backlinks. So we talked about bad backlinks. Let's talk about good backlinks real quick. basically, like we said, having other websites link back to your site is very important. Some SEOs would argue that it's as important as content, if not more important. That's kind of where I'm at. And again, think of them as votes. Every link is a vote in Google's eyes. The more votes, the better. And some votes are better than others. So, a backlink from Forbes.com is worth more than, a vote from my personal blog. And just for, it's worth mentioning that acquiring a backlink from any means other than it occurring naturally, that technically violates Google's quality guidelines and can run you the risk of receiving a penalty. So that being said, how do we get backlinks? There's dozens of resources out there. There's dozens of strategies that my agency use. But one of the ones that has been most popular and we use lately is called Links for Good. And basically, we have our client run a scholarship contest on their website where they have college students submit essays to them. They then, score the essays and pick a winner and give away a scholarship. But all while that's happening, we're reaching out to local universities, letting them know about the scholarship that we have. And then from there, oftentimes these universities will link out to our scholarship page. So it's great. So you get a .edu link. You're providing, a scholarship, $500, $1,000 to a kid that needs it and that's going to school. You get these kids to write content that you can also repurpose on your blog, and you can, write about it on social media. So that's a great strategy. Local citations. This is another great way to acquire backlinks. If you've got a brick and mortar location, basically these are just directories where you can, list your, name, address, phone number, hours, things like that. So here's just a couple of those directories. Moz.com, learn SEO citations by category. That's a great resource. Bright Local and White Spark, those are two companies that I've used in the past to get some of these local citations. And it's a really, really great play for local SEO. And yes, that Links for Good is a win-win-win situation. And then just real quick, content is king, sort of. Google would have you believe that content is king, but what they really mean is good content is king. If you have content that has little to no user engagement, it's essentially just adding bloat to Google's index and can actually hurt the overall authority of your website. It's better to just release one really awesome piece of content once a month than it is to write, 7 pieces of content a week and nobody's engaging with them. And with that, for content, 2 tools that I would recommend checking out. Shameless plug, ntopic.org is a SaaS tool that we sell for content optimization. And then there's MarketMuse, and that's a really, really awesome tool that, if your website's creating a lot of content, I would check out MarketMuse for content optimization. So again, I think I went a little over. I was flying there at the end, but
great. Well, Dominic, I think that's the SEO side of a nonprofit site is super important because a lot of times when nonprofits think about, hey, like we need to fundraise or we need to get donations, they think about like doing something active, like running a campaign or doing a gala, doing an event. But what you're saying is that there's a lot of organic opportunities for people and organizations to do storytelling, to post blog posts, to create content, to create videos that people online can naturally just find.
Exactly.
So I think that's a huge opportunity because those kind of opportunities, that kind of storytelling is passive. I don't know if anyone here follows thinks about passive income or anything like that, but that's the same thing over here with nonprofits. You just put stories out there, make sure it's optimized, and make sure that based on our previous sessions that we talked about, helping people find things that they want, then that allows you to just bring in people that you normally wouldn't reach with your own channels, with your own social media, or with your own emails. So I think it's a huge, huge opportunity there. So Dominic, thanks so much for just sharing with us a few tips and tricks from the SEO side.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think we have time for questions. But Dominic, if someone does have questions related to SEO, they want to learn more about Hive Digital, how can they find you?
Yeah, sure. Reach out to, you can just email sales@Hive Digital, and that comes directly to me.
Okay, if you could do me a favor before you sign off or after your session, just kind of type in your email address that you just mentioned,
Okay.
maybe some of the links that you want the participants today to see into the chat box to all the attendees. That would be great.
Perfect. Will do.
Great. So our next session, we're running a little bit behind, is with Rain Bennett. But before we do that, I want to take just 1 minute just to share some logistics items, as a lot of attendees today are joining us just now. So hi again, my name is Rob Wu. I'm the founder and CEO of Cosvox. Today, with my co-host Candice Cody, we're putting on the Digital Fundraising Summit. So super excited just to work with all of you today, just to share with you some latest insights when it comes to digital marketing and fundraising. I want to thank all of our speakers today, just showing over here for their time, for just their ability just to educate the nonprofit space. In addition to that, I just want to thank some of our sponsors, Hardware Compliance and Joe Goresh Fundraising, alongside of Cosvox over here. Cosvox, we are a digital fundraising platform for nonprofits. So what you can do with our platform is you can easily run donation pages, crowdfunding campaigns, peer-to-peer fundraising. And at the end of the day, you can raise more with less effort, with less time, with less frustration. Now, a lot of times when I go to conferences, when I sit in sessions, we're talking about strategies and tactics and kind of new ways of doing fundraising. But if you don't have a great presence where you're directing people to, like your donation form, your donate button, or your crowdfunding campaign site, or your peer-to-peer fundraising, then you're really leaving a lot of money on the table. You're essentially saying, hey, I want to direct all my efforts on the first 2 steps and then not think about the last step, which is arguably one of the most important steps. So what we can do with Cosvox is we can definitely help you raise more with less, improve your clunky donation page, or even help you acquire new donors through our peer-to-peer fundraising tools. I do want to offer one thing here is that a lot of attendees today can't make it for a whole session because on the East Coast, we're creeping up on the afternoon on a Friday. On the West Coast, people are getting lunch right now. So if you want the notes and recordings, you can always purchase it for 25 bucks today. It goes up tomorrow to $50. It gives you access to our professionally written notes, as well as our summit videos, which will slice up per session, so you can easily access that at any time. All right, well, without further ado, I want to introduce our next speaker, Rain Bennett. So Rain Bennett is with 6 Second Stories. He spoke at Cosvox a few months ago around storytelling, and he did just an incredible job. The audience feedback was amazing. People loved his presentation. And we had a few questions earlier this day that I think Rain would do a great job in, just because he is a video production guru. So he creates stories, he creates videos, and he knows all the ins and outs of how you can leverage video storytelling and storytelling in general to power your nonprofit social cause, your reach, as well as your digital funding.